We are excited to have Ed Russell here with us. Ed is one of our fantastic authors. He's the author of our advertising courseware here at Stucant. He's played a big role in helping us launch into that market. He is co-host with Brian Sheehan and our co-author with Brian Sheehan, and we're excited to have him. A little bit about Ed. He's spent the last 25 years in the advertising business working for some of the largest, best-known firms around the world. He joined the SI Newhouse School of Public Communications at Syracuse University in 2003. Russell wrote Leo Burnett's international training program, Leo Smarts, The Fundamentals of Marketing from AVA Publishing in the UK, and co-authored Advertising Selling in Today's World from Stucant. So he's got an impressive resume, and this is going to be a fun session. He's got a lot of videos and some poll questions to share with you throughout his presentation. So make sure you're staying engaged in the chat, and I'll turn the time over to him.
Great, thank you very much, and welcome everyone. It's great to be here for ProfCon. If you saw Karen's presentation, just the last one, it was fantastic and a lot of fun. So we'll jump right into it. How the advertising business caught COVID-19. And I don't have to tell any of you, I'm sure, what an incredibly sensitive business this is to upturns and downturns in the economy, and certainly how a worldwide pandemic would have crushed the business in many ways. I want to give a special shout out to Mark Jensen out there. Mark and I graduated together from Northwestern University, master's program in 1982. So the earth was still cooling at that time, if you recall, and we'll go from there. As I said, we wrote this book, Advertising Selling in Today's World, and Brian and I had both been teaching at Newhouse for more than 10 years. And you hear in the background, Banjo, the golden retriever. He hears my voice now, and he's 4 rooms away. But anyway, there's probably little I can do about it because I'm the only one home. But anyway, okay. So Advertising Selling in Today's World. Brian and I had actually worked together in 1984 at Saatchi & Saatchi, and where he spent his entire career. And I'd moved around a little bit after that. But as in teaching the intro course, we used every book out there, and we were so frustrated by most of them. The biggest complaint we had, and it wasn't their fault, but the biggest complaint we had was they were constantly out of date. A week ago Monday, Droga got announced as Ad Age's Agency of the Year. And so a normal book would tell you who was Agency of the Year 3 years ago, or they'd tell you the global ad spend 3 years ago. And that was so frustrating because I didn't care what the global ad spend was in 2018 or something. And I didn't care for my students to learn that. So we got this idea of writing an online book that could be updated regularly. And this summer, I'm going to update the winners at Cannes, which hasn't even happened yet. And it's coming up very shortly, and all of the Ad Age stuff. So hopefully when you get it in the fall, everything is as up to date as it possibly could be. That's why we did it. We actually tested it for 2 or 3 years before we contacted any publishers, and we love the idea. We love working with Stucant. They're fantastic. If you get an opportunity to work with them, please do, because they really have been just terrific to work with. So that's my pitch for the book. Let's get right into it. Not a surprise, the pandemic crushed the advertising business around the world and in the US. You can see from 2020 spending down 4.1% worldwide, and for the US down 5.4%. Those are huge, huge numbers actually in cuts. And one of the things that I always point out to students at this point, if you look at this, America is about 4% of the world's population. Our spending is about 40% of the global ad spend around the world. And so it'll give you an idea of just how much more advertising our people see than everybody else. But you see it bounced right back for 2021 with estimates now at 10.1% increase globally and 3.2% in the US. So it is a very resilient business, always sort of first on the decline and usually first to come back. If you look at where those declines happen, it's really interesting because the internet, it continues to grow. 2016, it became the largest medium that in the advertising business. And it's just continued to fuel even during the pandemic. You see, it never did take a downturn. All the others did. And if you look down at magazine and newspaper, they're kind of scary. Print, I'm not going to say print's going to disappear. It's not going to, but it is disappearing. And remember that, advertising pays for that to exist, and worth kind of keeping in mind. This is a overall U.S. unemployment rate. The advertising unemployment rate, I've seen estimates saying that it hit 20%, but the estimates were really very vague, and they were very much estimates. But you can see again just how recessions really put off the entire economy, but even specifically the advertising business. And April 2020 had the highest unemployment rate since 1939. I mentioned that 2016 was when internet jobs overtook the ad agency jobs. And if you just look at that the red chart going up, you can see that it really didn't take much of a dip at all, despite the pandemic. It's just the internet has continued to grow. And you look at the sort of beige colored one, and you see a dip again from September 2020 in employment there in the advertising business. We have an economy built on confidence, which
Hey, Ed, real quick, your mic got shut off.
Just recently, or should I go back?
Just barely. Go back just a hair.
Sure. That's all right. Wonder how that happened. Okay. Is this good enough?
Yep. Right there.
Okay. Okay. Sorry about that. Not sure. I didn't touch anything, so not sure how that happened. Anyway, what I was talking about here was the unemployment rate. Every time you obviously hit a recession, unemployment goes up. This is overall U.S. unemployment, not specifically advertising. I read some estimates that unemployment within the advertising business hit over 20% during this time, but they were very much fairly vague estimates. But again, you see the unemployment spike to the highest since 1939. And boom, just as we're coming out of this a year later, it's on its way back down. One thing I did want to mention that was kind of fun. I don't know how many of you saw Stephen Colbert's show on last night. And it was his first time back in about 16 months, something like that. And it was a terrific show. And Jon Stewart was on talking about how Colbert was one of the people that got us all through the year of the pandemic. One of the things that I enjoyed most is in the run up to this, he showed some of the early shows when they found out they weren't going to have a live audience, and they still had one. And he came out and he said, "I've been told this could last up to 8 weeks." And he was blown away by the idea of 8 weeks. I think we all probably are amazed at what happened over this period of time, but it crushed the advertising business sort of as well. When I was looking at this one, this was all about ad agency jobs versus internet media jobs. And the point is that internet media jobs held up. They continued to grow even during the recession, even during the pandemic, and just shows you the robustness of the internet versus even ad agencies. If you look at the beige line, you see a pretty good sized dip during the recession to some of its lowest points. This is consumer confidence, and we have an economy that's very, very based on confidence, and obviously a huge dip when we are facing a global pandemic and not being very good at admitting to what we're having to do and not even knowing. That's one of the things that's interesting about looking at the work over time is you can kind of see. In the advertising business, we tend to be very, very optimistic. So you can see optimism running through lots of the work, hoping that things will get better. But, you're starting to see that confidence built here as well. And then this was a chart that I found really interesting, which is just looking at what media inflation for 2020 was going to look like. And this was from WARC, the World Advertising Research Council. You see that, again, internet inflation is nearly flat. There was the intended inflation or the intended price rise versus the actual, but they're still rising. Everything else is off and going down to magazines discounting by 17% what they expected. So pretty kind of bleak there. Not a surprise, there's winners and losers. This also came from WARC, and not a surprise that the winners ended up being pharmaceuticals, medications, carry-out food delivery, alcoholic beverages in the short term. But long term, we learned how to shop differently. We changed our habits in many, many ways. So online retailers, online grocers, there's a lot of changes that consumers have made that they don't want to go back to the way they were working before. So we've got some losers as a result of that. In the short term, certainly restaurants, sports venues, museums, all these places where we go in groups were short-term losers. And short-term in this case was about 18 months. So it's not a short period of time. And as you know, the number of small businesses, restaurants, et cetera, that just went out of business because they couldn't sustain 18 months worth of lack of business is huge. The longer term cruises, they both lost in the short term and probably in the longer term. We just sent our first cruise ship out about a week ago. I have an alum that writes for a cruise magazine, and she was on the ship. And of course, you probably all heard that even though everyone was tested, everyone was vaccinated, 2 people came down with coronavirus on the cruise. So I think it's going to probably take a long time for some of those businesses to ever come back, if they do. This morning on Today's show as well, they had a very interesting and probably predictable, but they had a whole show on the national parks and the incredible long lines to get in and no parking, because everybody decided, okay, what's a safe vacation for us? Let's go see all the national parks. And they're nearly impossible to get into. Looking in the very bottom right, even movie theaters. We got used to, a lot of us bought bigger screens than we had before, and we got used to watching movies on Netflix and Hulu and all of these things. And so to get up and go to movie theaters, yeah, we will, but only for certain movies, and it's going to be uncomfortable for a little while to be in that closed an environment, certainly with a crowd. Got a wonderful quote here that I thought it kind of sets this whole thing up nicely. As someone told me recently, never in history of calming down has someone calmed down by being told to calm down. Never in the history of being resilient has someone been resilient by being told to be resilient. The myth of resilience is that it's a trait that individuals can exhibit, that any individual has a magical superpower that allows them to survive adversity. And the myth is that if you don't show it, it's because you didn't want it enough. So one of the other things that we saw overall in during the pandemic was this move from me to us. It was suddenly not just about me, and it wasn't about me being centered, but it was about me doing things for all of us, for the rest of my family, for my grandparents, for my parents, and the protection that we tried to display was not just for me, even if I didn't think I was going to get COVID or whatever, and I didn't. The more we feel part of something bigger than ourselves, the more it actually impacts our mental and physical health. Being connected makes us stronger. So brands are part of this and have been part of it since the beginning of time, I guess. And they help us by progressing us physically and emotionally to the new normal. via their brand purpose, products, and emotional assistance. And I'm going to show you some examples of all of these. One of the things when Brian and I first worked together in 1980, I think I said this already, but 1984 at Saatchi & Saatchi, and we're teaching together again for about the last 10 years or so. But one of the things that when we looked at this, we realized that there really were 3 stages of the pandemic so far. And the first stage was panic. We didn't know what in the world. I will not forget walking into a class after I found out that everybody was going to go home for spring break and nobody got to come back. And we had a whole discussion in the class about it. The students were shaken by it, not surprisingly. It was their senior year. I had all seniors at that point. And they realized they weren't going to have a graduation. They weren't going to have the senior year that they had waited for so long. And there was just a panic about not knowing what to do and what not to do. And that lasted pretty much March till May. The second stage was really dealing with this new normal. We didn't know what it was going to be. We didn't know how things were going to work, but we had to all figure it out together. In that class I just mentioned, I had a student that I will never forget, fairly good sized class. And as we were discussing how things might be going forward, trying to do Zoom classes, all this stuff, I had already taught online, which was a really lucky, I think. And I'll never forget, he said, "What if things got better?" And I said, "What do you mean?" He said, "I think we're all going to be surprised at how much we're actually able to do." And I thought, that's a really great way to look at this. And I got pretty excited about it. I started thinking about how in the world could I make all of this better? And then I realized, just like I had a whole lot more time on my hands, so did all these CEOs and everything else around. And I started asking, the founder of Huge in New York, all these, top HR people that I could probably, never get an hour and a half of their time if they would come and talk to classes. I didn't get turned down once. We had, we ended the year with 40 superstar guest speakers, and it was amazing. Agency founders, creative directors, all these people who understood what these kids were going through and had great sympathy for them. So that kind of happened in stage 2, the new normal. Lots of things didn't work as well, but some things actually even worked better than I think any of us anticipated. And then finally, I think we're entering the third stage finally, which is kind of embracing recovery. Things are getting better. Things are opening up. I was in New York City yesterday, and it was more vibrant than I've seen it in the last 2 years. Anyway, pretty much pre-pandemic sort of life going on without necessarily all the tourists back. So because we're talking advertising, we're going to look at a lot of work. The one thing I'll ask you is, after I've got some examples from each stage. After I show these, I'm going to stick a poll up, and everybody vote on which one that they thought was the most impactful, the most effective, and just for fun to see sort of how that goes. So the first one comes from, of course, Nike. It's really hard to beat the fine folks at Wieden & Kennedy on the incredible work they do. And here we go.
We're never alone. And that is our strength. Because when we're doubted, we'll play as one. When we're held back, we'll go farther and harder. If we're not taken seriously, we'll prove that wrong. And if we don't fit the sport, we'll change the sport. We know things won't always go our way.
And the world's sporting events are postponed or cancelled.
But whatever it is, we'll find a way. And when things aren't fair, we'll come together for change.
We have a responsibility
to make this world a better place.
And no matter how bad it gets, we will always come back stronger. Because nothing can stop what we can do together.
course, very few people can do it as well as Nike. Beautifully inspirational. And you see that move from me, especially when we're talking about individual athletes, which is very much about personal performance, to us. And we're all in this together. And I thought they did a wonderful job there. This is an interesting one. We've got some ads from around the world. I'm going to kind of speed this up just a little bit because in typical fashion, I'm talking too much. But Lush Cosmetics came up with a product that was one of those common sense things you think, why in the world didn't I come up with this? Or why did this take so long?
Hi, and welcome to this week's installment of Brightbox TV, powered by the team here at Punch. This week's corral of compelling content is sure to get you excited. So, shall we get started? The brand Lush, known for its aromatic bath products and cosmetics, have developed a new hand soap designed so that it dissolves in just 30 seconds. It was created to encourage healthy hand washing and to help curb the spread of coronavirus. Lush joined forces with food delivery company Deliveroo to help distribute the soap across all customers in the UAE. Not only are there definite health benefits to this rapidly disappearing soap, but it's also a great way for Lush to promote their brand. Fancy an out of
What a simple, wonderful way to create a product that it's a little bar of soap that dissolves in 30 seconds. So you know you've washed your hands long enough. Beats singing happy birthday every time you do it. L'Oreal came along, and I think it's important that we all remember that it wasn't just the coronavirus. We had the coronavirus on top of George Floyd and Black Lives Matter movement and everything else. And when you watch this L'Oreal commercial or piece that they put on YouTube with Viola Davis, I mean, it's spectacular in many, many ways. But one of them that I just loved is the fact that their selling line is so well known, they don't even have to identify it for everybody to know who it is.
You're worth it. 3 words we have all heard at least 1,000 times, right? You're worth it. But do you really understand what that means? It's a beautiful reminder to us all that we have worth. You have reason and rarity. There is value in each and every one of us, including you. That is precious even on the days you might not feel it. You never depreciate in value. Those words are there to remind you. So to all those watching who feel like that or have ever felt like that, focus on what I'm about to say and repeat after me. I'm worth it. Okay? Maybe that felt great, or perhaps that felt weird. Let's go again. First, take a deep breath and let it out. Forget the naysayers and silence the critics, even if the harshest words are the ones you say to yourself. Do not doubt yourself, and this time, speak it louder, really loud. I'm worth it. And the next time you hesitate before going after something you want, the next time you blush and brush off a compliment, the next time you doubt your place in the world, in the workplace, in your home, or in your own skin, say these words to yourself: I'm worth it. And I know you will always say it like you mean it. I'm worth it. Because you are. And always will be. Got that?
Viola Davis tells me to do something. Frankly, I'm going to do it because it's too dangerous not to. And I'm sure that most of you watching that, and I will not put anybody on the spot, we're sitting there going, oh, yeah, I'm worth it. Yeah. Because she's just so good at that. Okay. A couple of brands that we think got it completely wrong. And Brian put this one in. Brian spent 25 years of his career working on, or 20 years of his career working on Lexus. And so for him to pick a Lexus ad, it probably hurt him deep down. But if you listen to this, it's a company talking about who they are and not talking about us. It's trying to say we're only here for you, but it's me focused. And that's what the other ones weren't doing.
When we first opened our doors, it didn't take us long to realize
we weren't in the car business.
At Lexus, we were in the people business.
We needed to be helpful,
respectful,
and compassionate.
To treat people like guests.
It's what we all signed up for.
And now when people need this most, we will do what we've always done.
Take care of people first.
The rest will follow.
So a little ouch there. Another one that from an advertiser that rarely gets it wrong. And we could debate this one. It's a very clever idea, but at the time, thousands and thousands of people were dying every day when this ad first came out. It's for McDonald's, and very clever look at how do we get social distancing as part of the norm, and of course with the arches separating themselves out a little bit, but it's probably just bad timing on this particular thing. If death rates hadn't been so high and everything else, maybe we wouldn't feel this way. So I'm going to stick up poll 1, and for just a short period of time, and hit launch poll, and please put in which one you thought was the most impactful, the most effective, however you want to take it. "21 of 29, 22. Come on, you last few people. 23. 25. All right, we got 86% of the vote in. Anybody else? 26. And then I'll end the poll. All right, we'll end it there. Okay, so winner was L'Oreal. Yeah, again, Viola Davis tells me to do something, I'm going to do it. But of course, Nike coming in a reasonably close second there, and pretty amazing work. We got 1 vote for Lexus and a couple of socially distanced votes for McDonald's. So terrific. Whoops, share results. I'm not sure you got to see it. So that's what it looked like. Okay, let's go on to phase 2. Well, actually, first we'll talk about what lessons might have come out of that, because I don't want to be the one to say we'll probably be in another global pandemic, but sooner or later. Empathy and hope. They are always strong messages in advertising, and there are certain brands that are better at that, like Nike, than just about anybody else. The providing practical help. I can't look at that Lush little bar of soap in any other way than that is a really practical. I can't use it wrong. I can't use it incorrectly. If I just wait till it dissolves, it's very, very simple. And then kind of being a subtle cheerleader. You can't really just come out, come on, people will make it, because that just puts the focus back on me. But a subtle cheerleader to make you believe that we're going to get through this. So that's how we go from there to phase 2 or stage 2, and look at some of the brands that have kind of done it right. This won a ton of awards. The Match Made in Hell for Match.com. And we've kind of come to a place where we're accepting that things aren't the way they used to be, and maybe eventually they'll get back to that. But in the meantime, we've all got to adjust a little bit. So here we go.
Oh, I've dated much worse guys than him. Much worse. I mean, at least he's famous. Satan?
2020.
Please, call me 2020.
want this year to end.
Who would?
Okay. So yes, the match made in hell between 2020 and Satan. So pretty blatant, but probably worth looking at. The fine folks at Wyden are back again here. KFC's finger licking good. We can't be licking our fingers right now, so just wipe out the finger licking, and everybody will fill it in their own minds, which can be the most powerful thing you can probably do in advertising anyway, if you can get people to actually play this back in their minds. And on the billboard here, you see wash fingers thoroughly before licking. So nice little touch of people trying to adjust. Winnebago did something interesting. And you'll see a couple of other examples of this in just a second. But Winnebago said, wait a minute, you can still go on vacation, a socially distanced vacation. You're in a small pod of 2 or 3 people. Get in a Winnebago and go wherever you want. And you can do this safely. So here's how.
Hi, everyone. Winnebago has come up with a way that we can all get together and still social distance. And it is with a sing-along, a virtual sing-along. Winnebago has gained the rights to the song On the Road Again, and Sabrina and I will be lending our voices. And you can too. Just follow the link down below and join us on this virtual sing-along as we all look forward to getting back on the road again. Take care, everybody. See you soon. Bye.
And so it happened.
On the road again. Just can't wait to get on the road again. The life I love is making music with my friends. I can't wait to get on the road again. On the road again. Going places that I've never been. Seeing things that I may never see again. I can't wait to get on the road again. On the road again. Like a band of gypsies, we go down the highway. We're the best of friends, insisting that the world keeps turning our way. In our way, is on the road again. I just can't wait to get on the road again.
The life I love is making music with my friends. And I can't wait to get on the road again. On the road again. Like a band of gypsies, we go down the highway. We're the best of friends, insisting that the world keeps turning our way. And our way
is on the road again. I just can't wait to get on the road again.
My love is making music with my friends. And I can't wait to get on the road again.
I can't wait to get on the road again.
Bye, everybody.
I probably don't need to tell you that none of you are going to be able to get that song out of your heads for the rest of the day. So there we go. This was fun. This came out of the UK. And how do we, when we can't get together for holidays, important holidays, how do we do that? And here is having Easter dinner via Zoom with Grandma.
I can't see anything.
You need to put your camera on, Mum.
Oh, there you all are. Hello, everyone. Let's get started. I'm starving. Right, I've got loads of lovely rosemary marinade for the lamb. But the real trick is slicing your potatoes so they go crispy.
I've made a mess of these potatoes.
How's this, ma'am?
Oh, that's really good.
Yeah.
Show off.
Well done.
Yes. Nana's long distance lamb.
Well, that wasn't too tricky, was it?
Food Love Stories, brought to you by Tesco.
How fun is that? Something I sort of wanted to do. And of course, if you live in the UK, your life can center to some extent around a pub. And what happens when all those pubs get shut down? And again, they didn't have quite the stimulus plan or plans that we did. How in the world is that pub going to stay open? And actually, I think this might even be Denmark. I'm trying to remember now. But here is an idea from Carlsberg on how we could all come together to keep the pub going. And Mark, there. So adopt a keg so you can help keep your local pub open. Fun thing. This is one of my favorites. Snickers, this campaign, I will say with great pride, was developed in part with one of my alums, and the guy named Chris Cannon, who's moved on now from BBDO. But this is such a perfect example of it. And I think we all got caught kind of at this point somewhere.
It's so good to see you guys. Han, out here.
Are we on yet?
Oh.
I thought we were doing a Zoom thing.
Confused?
No.
Maybe you just need a Snickers.
Okay. I have a tie on, but yes, I do have cargo shorts underneath here. None of you knew that. Or you might all have cargo shorts on too, or something like that. So wonderful Snickers. Yeah, how in the world do you show a smile when you're all wearing masks? And simple little idea that Lay's incorporated into their packaging. And I remember buying a few of these just because I thought it was a hysterical idea and it was kind of fun to do. So great idea there. Oklahoma. I don't know how many of you are thinking, boy, I sure would like to go somewhere on vacation. How about Oklahoma? And they sort of understood that that was the case, but they figured out that they are a good socially distanced vacation. And if there was a time to do it, now might be it.
We're out here in the panhandle of Western Oklahoma.
I'm in heaven right now.
I'm Northern Blackfoot and Cherokee, and I think whatever nationality you are, if you live here for very long, you absorb a little piece of that culture, and it's part of you forever.
So what a great idea, and a perfect, timing's everything in this world, and a perfect time for them to do this. This one is a bit heartbreaking in many ways for Nivea, but we had the exact same experience. Our daughter moved home. She didn't lose her job, but our daughter moved home, and suddenly after 7 years on her own, had to figure out how to live in mom and dad's house again. It went a little easier than this, but there's a lot of empathy in this.
Hi, Mom.
Skinny love just last the year.
Can you go?
Oh, a little soul, we were never here. My, 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 my. Staring at the sink of blood and crashing in. And I told you to be patient, and I told you to be fine, and I told you to be balanced, and I told you to be kind. And now all your love is wasted, then who the hell was I? 'Cause now I'm breaking at the bridges of the ends of all your lies. Who will love you? Who will fight? And who will fall? Sorry about that. Far behind. Come on, skinny love. My, 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 my.
I'm going to give a shout out to Horizon Media, where my youngest daughter does work in New York City. During this whole thing, the founder and CEO, Bill Konigsberg, took $1 for a salary so that he wouldn't have to lay off anybody, and he didn't. So heroic act. And there are a few agencies that were that well run, and it's pretty exciting. So that was kind of wonderful. So let me pull up poll number 2 here, and poll number 1. Let's do poll number 2. Launch poll, and tell me which one you thought was the most impactful. And in come the votes. I've got 12. I'm going to end it very quickly here because I'm running out of time, which is something I often do. So I'll end it and share where the winners were. We spread out pretty thin here. We got Match.com at 18% of the votes that came in. So my fault for getting a little behind, but I tend to do this. Okay, lessons learned in stage 2. Lighten up a little bit. We all need a smile. And I think you got some decent smiles. Show us accomplishing things that we never thought would have been possible, including that last Nivea spot where, we were all doing business on Zoom. And, kind of reassure us that we'll be fine. It's going to be some ups and downs, but we'll be fine. Now, let's go to the good news. What's the good news is we seem to be in recovery, and we've got some brands that are doing things particularly well right now. And I will just get to them and shut up so that we can get through them all.
America has always been associated with making it. They're defying the odds, and their stories show us what it means to be made in America.
I want to see this through for the sake of my family.
GoDaddy, helping people figure out how to open their own businesses during the pandemic and coming out of it, and how to maybe take a little better control of their lives. I'm going to play this one quickly from Coca-Cola.
Stop.
George the Poet.
Wait, who says we have to go back to normal? What if the biggest change is you and me? What if we choose to be open and say, I will never call my job unimportant again. I'll never say that teachers' holidays are too long. Or that school is dry and I can't wait to move on. What if I just smile a bit, travel less and love every mile of it? What if I believe in the change my cooking, my music can do? What if I refuse to be a stranger in my own living room? What if my dreams never take the back seat again? What if I'm there whenever you need a friend? And I stand by every word I say. I'll make my vote count, make my voice heard today. See, I'll never forget how much stronger we are together. I'll carry that in my heart forever. We'll weather the storm. So I'll be open, like never before.
So there you go, another message of hope. I am out of time, so I'm going to skip this one, and I'm going to feel very guilty about it. You can go back and sneak a peek at YouTube, basically saying, because everything is why should I get the vaccine? Because of everything we're missing. And so I'll sneak through that one. For the extra gum commercial, probably a lot of you have seen this. This is one of the most beautifully produced films I have seen in a long time, and how they pulled this off during the pandemic. But even this tumbleweed you see blowing here is just covered with old masks. So enjoy this one.
Good morning, folks. This is WGUM, your stay-at-home radio station with better music and more of it. News and weather is on the way. In this just in, we are back. We can see people again. How about that? I can't believe it. News is on the way. We'll learn more in just a moment. I can't believe it.
There were nights when the wind was so cold, but you froze in bed if I just listened to it right outside the window. I finished crying in the instant that you left, and I can't remember where or when or how, and I banished every memory you and I had ever made. Touch me like this, you hold me like that. I just have to admit that it's all coming back to me. It's all coming back, it's all coming back to me now. There were moments of gold and there were flashes of light. There were nights of endless pleasure. It was more than any loss in love. Baby, baby, if I kiss you like this, and if you whisper like that, it was lost long ago, but it's all coming back to me. If you want me like this, and if you need me like that, it was dead long ago, but it's all coming back to me. It's so hard to resist, and it's all coming back to me. I can barely recall, but it's all coming back to me It's all coming back to me.
So there you go. I'm going to skip the third poll because I am out of time, and I want to be respectful of Stu Kent being so kind to let me in, but just tell you that stage 3, the lessons learned: celebrate success and celebrate, get everybody excited about it, and claim, put down, post your flag. This is what we've done. We came through it together, and it's time to get back to life as it should be. So thank you for this opportunity. I'm pretty sure that Stu Kent's going to put up these PowerPoint slides and steal it please get rid of, my picture on the front and make it your own. And you can certainly add to it, because by that time there'll be, probably a lot more included. So thank you. I don't know if there's anybody has any questions.
Yeah, we do need to get to the next session. Ed, that was fantastic. I'm going to put in the chat a link to Ed's book that he co-authored. Ed and Brian, they do a fantastic job at just bringing in relevant, awesome examples that you can use in your class. And their textbook is no different. They do a really great job at making sure all of those examples are relevant and up to date. This presentation was fantastic. I hadn't seen like 90% of those commercials, so those were awesome. Especially that last one, I was giggling pretty hard. So thank you so much, Ed. Appreciate your time. If you do have questions, is there a good place that they can reach you?
Yeah, at the end was my email, edrussel1l@syr.edu.
Awesome. And then in case there was a lot of people jumping in and out of that session, co-author Brian Sheehan will be giving the same presentation from his perspective tomorrow. So if you were in and out of this session and would like to see the full thing, you more than welcome to join that session tomorrow. Awesome. Well, thank you, everybody. Thanks, Ed.
Thanks so much.